Welcome to the show, In the Clutch. I'm your host here, Maniac Ray, here with the star of the show, Giraffe Raw. Giraffe Raw, how you doing today, brother?
Man, I'm pretty excited right
Man,
now.
I gotta give you your props, bro. A couple of those names you named last show really showed out. Henry Ruggs, you said 4-2. He certainly did his thing. And also Mims. Mr. Mims also showed up. We're going to talk about some of the top wide receiver prospects, and we're also going to mention some guys who may have improved their stock as well with a good showing in the combine. Let's kick it off by talking about Mr. CeeDee Lamb.
All right, well, with CeeDee Lamb, obviously some people have him as the top prospect in the draft. I'm not to say I'm not as big on him, but I don't think he's the number one guy. I have the Alabama guy, Jerry Jeudy, who's the top guy. But I think CeeDee Lamb is very explosive. I think he runs pretty solid routes. I think he has pretty solid hands. I think that he brings an all-around tool set to the wide receiver position. And honestly, I mean, he's going to probably be a top 15, maybe even a top 10 pick. What did he run at the combine?
Ran about a 4.5.
Yeah, about a 4.5, I think it is.
Which is pretty good for
yeah,
his
it's pretty
size.
solid, yeah.
And his maneuverability on the field, he showed that he definitely is someone who can add a lot of yak yards. Very tough to bring down in an open field. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned Mr. Jeudy. How did he show out?
Jeudy, from what I remember, he ran in like the mid 4.4, so that was pretty solid for him. You know, on the field drills, he was going to look good, catching the ball, the route running, all that type of stuff.
We already know he had those.
Yeah,
things.
so it's to me, it was
just really the 40 time,
right.
Just to really see is he able to maintain that speed.
Right, and it's just confirmation of what I saw on tape.
Okay.
Same thing with CeeDee Lamb. It's just confirmation.
Got it. How about Jalen Reagor?
Jalen Reagor, same thing. I was surprised that he didn't run in the 4.3s because I talked about him in the last video.
Yes.
But they said that he bulked up quite a bit, so. You know, it maybe that hindered him from actually running a faster time. But I think that, you know, overall, he still showed up in drills. He looked pretty good out there. Like I said, he looked a little bit thicker than he usually would. But I think he still carried the weight well. And, I mean, he ran the same time as Jerry
Some of that
Jeudy.
could be attributed to just getting off the block, too. You saw a lot of guys had difficulties getting off the block, a couple false starts. A lot of guys were called back for false starts. So it's all in how you come out of the box. We had a couple guys that didn't participate. We had a few injuries as well. How about Laviska Shenault? What are you hearing on him?
Man, I heard that it was part of like a groin injury or something like that, or the pelvic
some
bone.
type of core injury.
Yeah, they said a core and then like a pelvis bone bruise or something in that type of nature. He ran in the 40. It was kind of weird because he didn't wear the regular like combine get up. He kind of had a baggy shirt on and like whatever type of shorts he had on. He just kind of ran.
That certainly didn't help his time.
Yeah, I mean, he, almost 4'6", and I think that some GMs were a little disappointed. But when you think about what type of player he is, that 4'6" is not as bad.
Okay.
Because, even a guy like Alvin Kamara ran like a 4.56 in the 40-yard dash. Right. So it's just kind of like, it's picking and choosing here,
And he's going to be out, they're saying maybe 6 to 8 weeks with the injury.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
That's basically what they're saying.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be the timetable.
Yeah,
as we all know.
He probably won't be at his pro day, but, I mean, he'll be healthy before training camp because in 8 weeks is the draft. So,
correct.
You got to get drafted first before you go on the training camp.
We had a couple guys who didn't show up. A couple of guys you named that we were looking to see perform, like T. Higgins. He didn't step out. And I mean, how do you really think that's maybe affecting his draft status? You think he really needed to get out there and try to show something, particularly with this being an extremely deep wide receiver draft? You think he really needed to try to get out there and distinguish himself?
It's weird because it's like, I don't know what to say about it. Because it wasn't an injury.
Right.
It wasn't. I don't know what to say. I mean, on tape he looks amazing. To me, he reminds me a little bit of AJ Green. Now,
Okay.
I'm not saying he's AJ Green,
Right.
but he reminds me just his movement skills and everything. I think he's a solid route runner, got good hands. He's the big body guy, catch those 50-50 balls.
Good
and
yak
everything.
guy as well.
Exactly. But so the tape is going to carry him. Obviously, he's probably going to go his pro day and do all the drills there, but
Okay.
it was just kind of weird and it wasn't just him. There was a couple of guys
Yeah,
that,
but a couple of
weren't
guys
there
that
at
didn't
different
show.
position.
Those guys are already projected to go very high in the draft.
Yeah.
Very high. So they were just kind of protecting their draft status.
Yeah.
Like you said, this is a deep draft, and I was a bit disappointed that he didn't show up.
Yeah.
What about Van Jefferson?
Van Jefferson, situation with him, he's got an injury too. Something about a Lis Frank injury. I think that's in the foot.
That's terrible. As
You know,
we know
so-
that Hollywood went through that.
Right, and he's
tough
gotta,
to play through.
They say he's got to get surgery, I guess immediately, because he didn't participate at the combine. But Chenault participated a little bit. He didn't do the field drills, but he did the four. So everything is all a little weird when it comes to it. But it is what it is. You watch the tape of Van Jefferson, and he is one of the best wide receivers, or if he's not one of the best, I can assure you he's one of the best route runners, which can make him one of the best wide receiver prospects.
All right, and when we're talking about the Jeffersons, what about Mr. Justin Jefferson?
Oh man, Justin had a field day.
I thought he did very well.
Oh my gosh,
Certainly
it
helped his stock.
was amazing. I mean, in the drills, on the workout, during those on the field drills, he was making spectacular catches. He showed the good hands. He showed good speed in the 40.
Ran
He
the
showed good
4.47.
He did, man. Low 4.4s, and I mean, he showed out to a point where I think some teams are probably going to think about taking him in the first round.
Well, I think he's definitely going to go in the first round. How about Donovan Peel Jones?
Donovan Peoples.
Yes,
Yeah,
sorry.
Donovan Peoples. I think first of all, he actually showed up. And low key, Donovan probably had the best day of all the receivers.
Really?
Yeah.
You think
I
so?
mean, you look at the drills that he ran. The Michigan receiver really put a good workout. He ran a 4.48 or somewhere near that type of range. Like I said, the on the field drills, his movement skills, he didn't drop not one ball. I mean, and when I watched the tape, the guy is a playmaker. He's a former 5-star recruit, and I think he was just hindered by his quarterback, Shea Patterson. You know
Okay.
Shea Patterson.
Yeah.
Shea Patterson's not the greatest quarterback out
Sure.
there, so it kind of hindered him a bit.
His overall performance.
Right, but I think he's going to be a better NFL receiver than he was a college receiver.
And let's talk about that Buckeye. How about KJ Hill? How did he do out there?
Now, here's the thing. I didn't like KJ Hill's tape. I'm sorry. I just didn't. And then when I
And
watched,
he ran a pretty well for receiver. I think, what's he around, 4.7?
4.6 something.
Yeah,
4.6,
4.6,
yeah.
4.7,
It's,
yeah.
so it's to a point when you're that small and you run that slow.
But he showed out very well in college.
Yeah.
And, you're running in shorts there. And how much stock do you think that the scouts will really put in that?
It's
Is it going to be what shows on tape? Is it going to be the ultimate of what's on tape? Or, I mean, that could certainly hurt him because,
Yeah.
I mean, it's wide receivers, and we know it's an extremely deep class. A lot of guys ran some exceptional time. And when you're coming in at 4.6, 4.7, I mean, I see what you're saying there. That
Yeah.
could certainly hurt his stock. So let's talk about some of the top performers. What do you think some of their skill sets is? Some of their best attributes that they bring into the NFL. Let's start with Mr. Henry Ruggs. What do you see from him?
man. Ruggs is speed. He's also a pretty solid route runner. I hold a lot of stock in route running. I hold a lot of stock in it. And as a route runner, he's not one of the greatest guys. He's not Jerry Jeudy. He's not what I said earlier in Van Jefferson, but he's good enough. And that 4.2, that 4.27
That was
is
exceptional.
just.
I think everyone was just sitting there waiting for eating their popcorn, just waiting to see what was happening. There was a great anticipation and build-up. Was he going to break the record
Right.
of John Ross? And, he ran exceptionally well.
My only-
And he also looked pretty good running his drills out there as well.
My only thing about him, and this is the last thing I'm going to say about him, is like I said, with the route running, I don't think he separates as well with the speed that he has. He should be a natural just separator.
Right.
But he doesn't separate as much when especially like in certain type of routes, there's not much separation. If he hits you with a double move, obviously he got you, but in certain routes he doesn't separate as much. And like I said, he already got solid hands, a good route runner, fast.
So you think
that's
he
all.
would be someone who may have difficulty with a press man situation, getting off the line? If you press him, is he one of those guys that, like John Ross had extreme difficulty. He had all that speed, but if you pressed him, he basically was out of the game. He really couldn't do anything. He didn't have the moves in order to get away from press man. So you think it's the same thing we're talking about with Mr. Ruggs?
It's a little different because a lot of times corners in college don't press. So it's kind of hard to see like where the release is at for certain guys. But I think that with his speed and quickness, he should have the ability to do it. John Ross didn't have a lot of quickness. He was straight line fast, but he wasn't quick. So that's the difference.
Makes a difference.
Yeah.
Talk about Gabriel Davis.
Gabriel, who he kind of reminded me of?
Who's that?
Because we're both Ravens fans.
All right.
Torrey Smith.
Okay, all right. Big body, high point guy.
He reminded me
of speed, little flash.
Yeah,
okay.
I just thought that he's definitely stronger than a guy like a Torrey Smith, and he's more of a hands catcher, while Torrey was more of a body catcher.
Right.
So that was the only difference. But when it came to what he did in college, running style, all the routes, he was mostly a deep threat guy. And I mean, he actually has pretty good size, bigger than Torrey Smith. He reminded me of him. So that's what I looked at when I saw him.
And we talked about Justin Jefferson. So let's break down what you actually saw and what you really liked about him in this combine.
So I wasn't as big of a fan of Justin Jefferson while I was watching the tape. Not too big on him. But I thought he was a solid blocker. That was one thing. The thing is that he was an okay route runner, but sometimes he used this like a skip hop type of route running. Like when he got into a stance, all of a sudden when the ball was snapped, he would kind of like skip hop.
Gotcha.
And use too many moves. I didn't really like that too much. And then I wasn't sure if he would be a number one receiver in the NFL. And that's mainly due because he's more of a slot, or I saw him in a slot more often than we saw him as an outside receiver.
Okay. Tyler Johnson.
Tyler, man, this is a big guy. He is a big body guy. He's another guy that didn't participate at the combine.
Yeah.
A lot, like I said, not even just the wide receiver position. It was guys on every single position.
Sure.
But he has a huge catch radius. Not much of a route runner in particularly, but he was good usually up the seams and during slants. So those type of routes where he can set up guys to go in the inside of a guy, he was pretty good at doing that.
So kind of like a Bolden.
Yeah, I would say, kind of like a Bolden. He's a willing blocker, solid willing blocker, and he's a hands catcher.
Okay.
I mean, so he's a good solid guy.
How about KJ Hamler?
KJ Hamler, Penn State. This was another guy that I was saying 4.3.
He ran a pretty good 40 time.
I forgot what he actually ran.
He ran 4.4.
I think he may have ran a 4.4. Yeah, I honestly forgot. It wasn't a 4.3 like I thought, but he's it is what it is. If he ran a 4.4, it didn't really matter. That's still fast. He's a small, quick guy. He's a good route runner, slot guy. He's a punt returner. And even though I thought there was a possibility he can run a 4.4 because I saw him separate, he's not really as fast. But he uses a lot of body control to get open. I had to go back and research that a little bit when I did saw him on tape.
So 50-50 type of guy?
I wouldn't say a big. He wasn't
well.
50. I wouldn't say a 50-50 type of guy, but he kind of. When I say use his body, it's the little nuances of like the shoulder dips and the hips.
Being
and
able to get that position that you need when you're running that slant.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
That's what I mean.
And someone you mentioned last show, Denzel Mims. You mentioned his speed, and he certainly showed out, but he also displayed some great techniques when he was doing the drills.
Yes.
Let's talk about him.
Yes, so Denzel, tough physical, can make the spectacular catch and catches in traffic, can stack, and if you don't know what stacking is, it's, can I use you for a second?
You go right ahead. Let's go.
Let's use it for a second.
All right.
So let's say you're the corner and I'm the receiver. Sometimes a stacking position, and I'm on his outside shoulder, if I'm running like this, you can reach over.
That's correct.
Right. Use your hand.
Come on.
You can reach over and knock the ball down. Even if I'm running from the other side, he can do the same thing. Arm can reach over and knock the ball down.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm stacking, I'm literally right here.
Okay.
Where can you go?
Posting up, basically.
And I
Down
make
low.
the catch.
Gotcha.
And you can't. You gotta reach over,
In order
which
to try to
causes passes
pass
interference. So that's
he's
his.
someone that positions himself very well, and particularly if you're talking about a slant situation, even on a fade, someone that also just showed a great deal of speed. I was a little surprised that he was able to pump out that 4.3.
I told you.
Yeah.
I told y'all. I told you. I told you.
How about Michael Pittman?
Michael Pittman, wasn't the biggest fan of his. He just reminded me of just a regular big, tall jump ball receiver.
Okay.
That's pretty much what he is.
Okay.
It's not much about him. I think but he did have a good 40 and a 4.5. So, I mean, he did show some speed on tape, so it wasn't like there wasn't no speed there, but mostly he's just a big, tall body guy that makes the 50-50 catches.
Gotcha. Similar to Jaleel Scott.
Yeah, pretty
Ravens.
much.
Okay, gotcha. Jawan Jennings.
Another guy, wasn't the biggest fan, kind of plays a little slow, but he is a red zone threat. He looks for yak, but his biggest thing, he needs improvement on running his routes.
That tree.
Yeah.
Devin Duvernay.
Slot, body catcher, but he's a yak guy. And he actually, I think he had one of the fastest times.
He did
I think he
have
ran a
one of the fastest
4.3,
times,
so
yes.
that was pretty good for him as well.
How about Byron Edwards?
Man,
And who do you think he really remind you of?
you said him earlier,
Yeah.
Anquan Bolden.
Okay.
And it's the Anquan Bolden thing. It's the easiest thing to say for a big, tough receiver that kind of runs like a running back when they get the ball in their hands. So I just say Anquan. But you know, with him, he reminds me also of a Debo Samuel,
Okay.
which they played on the same team, South Carolina. They were both from went to South Carolina. So you could see there was a lot of similarities.
in
Right.
their styles. Okay.
But a big, tough yak guy with good hands, and he beats the press, which is pretty good.
Now let's talk about who you feel has really improved themselves as far as in that position.
Antonio Gandy Golden.
Okay.
I really like him.
He ran
He's
pretty well
Yeah.
from my recollection as well.
yeah,
He
he
stood
ran,
out.
he ran solid time. He's a big guy, but he's nimble.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually pretty nimble. He's got good hands. He's actually an underrated route runner, and you know who he reminds me of?
Who's that?
Detroit Lions receiver
No.
Kenny Galladay.
Okay.
He reminds me of him a lot.
All right.
He reminds me of him a lot.
So let's talk about some of the lesser known prospects in the wide receiver category.
You know, I can only talk about probably one guy.
Okay.
One guy. Okay. Brandon Ayuk. Arizona State wide receiver. He's getting a lot of traction. He didn't run as fast as I thought he would run, but he's still a really good wide receiver. He's a deep threat guy. He also stacks really well. That's another good thing about him. He's a body catcher though, so it's not, I don't like that a lot, but it's, it is what it is.
Being a stack guy, I can understand that. It's about
Right.
positioning, and that's, a lot of times, like you said, you're just trying to prevent that guy from reaching over.
Right, and if he do reach
right,
over-
if you put your hands up there, he can certainly interfere with that. So I can
Exactly.
understand that style of play for him.
And he can make big plays, but not in traffic. So he's a little bit opposite of some of these other guys that were kind of catching traffic guys, especially like a Denzel Mims. And he's an underrated route runner. And also he returns kicks and punts.
Oh, good. Okay.
That's
someone,
value.
Someone we can be taking a look at maybe in the later rounds, third, fourth round.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And there was also some good showings by some of the top linebackers. We had some great 40 times out there with the linebackers. You ready to get into that right now?
I mean,
Cut.
yeah, cut.
I just gotta check your microphone.
Mont. Okay.
I'm sorry, this sounds working, but this sounds a little weird. Yours sounds excellent.
Okay.
And was there only one guy that was underrated?
No.
Because then I didn't hear where you said underrated.
Oh, so it stayed on top.
Well, except for the last guy you started talking about.
It was there. It came up.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, I saw it. I didn't, but I wasn't paying attention to the screen as much, so I didn't know you. It was only on the last guy.
I said lesser known prospect.
Right,
When I
and
looked
that's-
up, I saw underrated.
Yeah. So I only switched it for the last guy.
Oh, okay, that's all right.
Well,
I
it was
did-
only one guy.
But that's what I was asking. Is
Right,
there only
there
one
was
guy?
only one guy. So it was
Okay,
perfect.
well then it's fine.
Yeah, I actually, and I should have said that. I didn't want to transition right into linebacker.
I didn't know. That's why. I
My
mean, I was
bad.
just rolling.
I didn't want to I wanted to do another startup. So we'll.
When you edit, if you want to change that line, you just take a picture of when it changed, and then superimpose it, and then just shrink the top and the bottom, and it'll be there.
Okay.
You can do a crossfade. I mean, I don't know if you know about. It's not that hard of a fix to make.
Okay.
You know about editing.
Okay.
So
Can you could we do like a closing for the wide
so you
receiver?
wanna do
Just do it.
closing right now?
Just do it on camera real quick.
what?
A closing.
Just yeah. So I guess you will probably want to edit when I say you're ready to talk about top linebackers.
Yeah, it's already there. See, top linebacker prospects.
Yeah,
No,
but he
I-
didn't want me to go into that. He wanted me to just
Oh, so you
close
want
out
me
the
to go
show.
back to the other screen.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
he
wanted
wanted to
to.
close
I
out
wanted
the
to
show.
split. Yeah, I wanted to split it off,
Okay.
and just like next time we'll be talking
When
about
you said
linebacker.
that, I did that perfectly.
Yeah, you did. You did. And then when he was going in, I was just like, oh, all right, well, let's go.
I was just, that's why I asked the question.
said,
Are
okay.
you ready to talk about
Let's
it?
go then. Shoot.
So that's what you want, underrated?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just keep it there and.
And what are you going to go with underrated? Do you have anything else?
Nah, I just
Right.
want you to just have a closing.
Okay, so I'll do the closing.
Yeah.
All right.
And so yeah, and then what I say?
So
and
you
he's a
gotta
good
just punch in the
returner.
closing.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's a good returner.
Okay.
Yeah, your mic sounds much better now. Okay, you guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead. We were rolling the whole time. Hold on, you're not framed up right.
Oh, yeah, I didn't move. Sorry. There we go.
Take us. Yeah. No, back to where you were.
Me?
Yeah, Maniac, you gotta go the other way. There you go. Maybe. Okay, draft one step forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that looks right. Okay. We're rolling.
All right, and that pretty much just sums up what we talked about with the wide receiver class. We're going to wrap up the show, and next show we're going to talk about some of the top linebacker prospects. So signing off and signing out, this is Maniac Ray. I'm here with my guest host, star of the show, Giraffe Roar. Great show. Thanks for tuning into the show In the Clutch. You can find us on YouTube at Giraffe Raw. Please sign in and subscribe. Also on Uncut Sports on Facebook. You can also catch us at Ravens Nation as well. And Giraffe Raw, what's that page you subscribe to?
Please subscribe to TV Free Baltimore. You can find them on Facebook, Twitter, and of course, YouTube. And if you want to see more of me, you can subscribe to Draft Raw Authentic on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
And the opening song is called Bring the Pain. That's by the artist Renard. Streaming on all major platforms, specifically Spotify. We'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.